Okay, so polymorphism is this idea that you can have a class that can inherit from two or more parents. So we call that polymorphism, and that word derives from two Greek words meaning many shapes. So thinking of our example, a device can be both switchable and settable. So it can have two facets, two ways that it can operate, and that then brings up this term polymorphism, which means many-shaped, many-sided. In some programming languages, for example Java, polymorphism can be problematic in the sense that you can imagine there could be problems if you've got two parent classes which have a method or even an attribute with the same name. Which version does the child class use? How does it know which one to use? Python is quite pragmatic about this, and we'll see later on how that works in Python. So we will have, in fact, just a couple of slides. We'll have two classes that have the same method, and we'll see how that works later on. Java gets around it in a slightly different way, using a concept called interfaces, but that's going beyond what we want to talk about here. So the idea then to focus on is we've got this class that can inherit from more than one parent, and that makes our programming very flexible. Okay, so here's a class diagram for the latest version of the Home Hub. So as I said in the previous video, we've got two base classes, switchable and settable. Okay, and then what are things that are switchable? Well, most of that list of things there, the light, the dimmable light, the heating, most of them are switchable. So we can say that all of these 5 classes will inherit from the switchable class. The smoke alarm isn't switchable. Remember, that's always on. Okay, settable. What is settable? Well, the dimmable light is settable. This is where you can adjust a setting like the brightness of the light, or the temperature of the oven, or the volume of the music player, and those are all settable. Okay, so if I put all those links in, you'll see everything inherits from something, and most of the ones in the middle, the dimmable light, heating, so on, they inherit from both settable and switchable classes. So that's the design that we're aiming for. And the code, in terms of the code, actually, you should be familiar with it if you've watched the other lectures, because actually we're just taking code out of one of the classes. You could take the code out of the light class, and that would make the code for the switchable class. Okay, you could take the code out of the extra code that we put in the dimmable light, and that would make the settable class. So this is what the switchable class looks like. Okay, there's a couple of ignoring that, which is just put in to store the information about the widget that the GUI uses. So forgetting about the GUI for the moment, there's basically, you've got 3 methods. You've got switch on, you've got switch off, and status. Status then prints out whether the thing is on, and then we've got this. The widget is the thing that where we reflect the status of that thing, where we have a radio button in the GUI, in the user interface, that the user can see whether it's switched on and off. So we need the object to know about that radio button. So we just store it in here and set it here. Okay. So, but basically, forgetting about the GUI for the moment, the things we need to focus on is 3 methods that just allow us to switch that object on, switch it off, and get the status of it. There's no init method, and there's a reason for that. So all the classes we've seen so far have an init method when we create an initial object. But in this new example, I mean, we could create a switchable object that could then be defined as to what it is. But in fact, in our new version of the code, we're never going to create a switchable object. So we don't need an init method. We're just going to create objects of the subclasses. So we create a light, we'll create a dimmable light, and so on. So we don't actually need an init method. We could put one in, but for this example, I've decided not to. So that's my switchable class. Here's my settable class. So this is a little bit more involved. Again, it's got this widgets code that deals with the GUI. Forget about that for the moment. So, but the basic things are up and down. What do? They call a method to change the setting. So up just changes the setting by a certain amount upwards. Down changes by a certain amount downwards. And so that then calls this method to adjust the setting. As I say, we've seen this code before in lots of examples of the Home Hub, where we've had objects that can be increased in light in some setting. In particular, the lights we focused on, the dimmable light or the spotlight, then once the setting's been changed, then that calls print setting. So there's a whole series of methods here that call each other. So when the setting is changed, then that then changes the setting and then calls print setting, and that prints out what the setting is. And notice there's also a status method here, because what we've done previously is in the previous example, again, you wouldn't need to do this, but it's just the way the code has been implemented, just for the just to do some demonstrations actually. Here, when we print out the status of an object that's settable, then we also print out what the setting is when it's on. So this just says whether it's on or off, usually, and this prints out the setting as well. Okay, so that's the two classes. Actually, I think I'm going to finish the video there, and then we'll look at putting them into place. So we've got these two classes, the switchable class, the settable class, and we'll then put them into place. Okay.